You're 35 years old, and you can look around and see the world. You don't tend to see higher earning men with average looking women. Off rip. If you do see them, they got their average looking woman when they were both really young and he built his way up.
Yeah.
But a man earning the kind of money you're talking about does not go for an average looking woman.
I mean, my body is not average, so.
But ma'am, please don't make me say it.
Say what? I really just wanted some advice. I love you.
I'm giving you advice, but you're not taking it.
Just real quick, she said something interesting right there. It took me a second to digest it. She said, but my body's not average, though. Oh, I hear that and I cringe, and it's just like, oh God, like, if you point out, if you're a young woman and the first thing that comes into your mind of how to attract a dude of means and substance and value is the aesthetic things that attract any man into your situation, I think that you are very far from reality. And I think, like, just as he called out in the beginning of the conversation, she's not around the type of men that she wants, so she's coming up to an idea of what it is that she can provide. And honestly, at 35 years old, although it is good right now, you are on a decline as you get older. I mean, as the man is appreciating in assets, appreciating in worth, appreciating in value, things that are used to determine his level and degree of masculinity or power in the society, the very things that you call out as a benefit is decreasing, right? So take note of that. So you have to bring something other than that to a table. And at the end of the day, for a high value dude, just based off your assets, he might have fun with you for a Friday or Saturday night, but it doesn't mean he's going to get married to you. Come on, mama.
The advice is, ma'am, you're average looking at best.
I'm taking it in, but...
Okay, but you're not accepting the fact that... Okay. Average looking...
You on the phone?
Average looking woman who's older. Average looking older woman with a 13-year-old son.
13?
Average looking woman with a 13-year-old son with a sketchy baby daddy.
Oh, whoa.
This gets worse every time I say something. Now you're asking for a man who's in the top 10% of men. You don't qualify for one.
Just real quick. She has her phone out right now, and really, I thought, like, how dare you get onto a platform like this and then have people looking at you while you're on your phone? Again, it shows some of the dissonance in how you are presenting yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, she's coming and asking a life coach and a dating consultant for advice, and you can't even take the couple of minutes to put your phone down in a way. But I think what she's actually doing is she's probably looking at the YouTube comments. So here's the thing, and I thought through this as well. What would really promote as many women to call?
The audio that you just got finished listening to is an insert of somebody who had critiqued a viral video or live stream from one Kevin Samuels. And what you had was a Negro literally critiquing what he listened to on that live stream. Now, some of y'all might be surprised at where my angle is going to lie on this one. And I'm going to tell you who has taken a loss within this live stream. And that is not that black female that Kevin Samuels was literally ridiculing on his podcast. The ones who have taken the biggest loss at this are black men. So before I actually get into what took place with Kevin Samuels and this female, you have this Negro who has decided to critique and criticize what he just got finished listening to. And right here, what this lets me know, this goes ahead to reinsure and once again reconfirm what I've already known about you black men for a very long time. And what I've been saying, in addition to black men lacking the understanding of optics, black men also lack analytical skills. They have failed to be able to process and analyze the world around them. They don't understand how other societies work. They fail to realize that they are the only group of men who will sit up on a panel, literally attempting to browbeat a bunch of females. Only black men, by and large, sit around on panels doing shit like this. And when you see a group of men attempting to do some shit like this, what you are literally dealing with are men who are powerless in society. These Negroes, and what I mean when I say they have failed to be able to analyze the world around them, they can't understand why the black woman does what she does. They can't understand that what they're essentially doing. And let me make this perfectly clear. You might get a feel-good moment, and it might feel good for the moment, but essentially what you are doing is attempting to heat up a building with open windows. So even if you momentarily get that building warm and comfortable while that heat is on, guess what? The minute you shut it off, that heat goes out the window. Why? Because you have just heated the building with open windows. Some of y'all might ask me, what the hell do you mean when you say this? Stick with me. I'll break down that analogy in just a little while, because y'all know I love using analogies. And the one thing I can honestly understand is when you've been in certain fields and you know what it's like to operate machinery that produces energy, you start learning how to operate more efficiently. You start understanding how that machinery works and how when it is produced each and every year, they try to make it just a bit more efficient every time they reproduce it. See, many black men don't understand this, and this is why they sit around doing what they do. And it also, what I've come to understand is you have many black men who not only cannot analyze the world around them, but they don't even have a basic understanding of their own nature as men. Now, let's just go ahead and listen to what this Negro said in this audio clip that I just got finished letting y'all listen to. This Negro, before I even get into that, allow me to go ahead and break down this female's circumstances. This is a 35-year-old female. Now, I'm talking about the one that was on Kevin Samuel's show, who was being ridiculed and berated. She's 35 years old. She has a 13-year-old son, and she owns a pet grooming business which affords her a 6-figure income. Okay, so I'm just putting this out there so people can understand what her circumstances are. Now, I really don't care about her circumstances. According to what she has stated, she has rated herself as a 5. According to Kevin Samuels, he stated that you are an average at best. Okay, now I really don't care about her looks, but just viewing furthermore of her looks and what I've seen, this woman is below average as far as I'm concerned. And that's just me being honest, all right? Now, according to what she stated, her body is not average. So when she's saying that, we have to conclude that what she is saying that her body is above average. I don't think she would say it's below average. But from what I've seen and what I've gathered, this woman is not above average. Her body is not above average. At a bare minimum, luckily, if you're lucky, you can say average. That's just according to my opinion, though. This is not to throw shade on this female. It's just a matter of me stating it for what it really is. Now, nobody knows of this female. And what I've noticed is that black men all over social media have been trolling a female who, if you just look at her, you can tell this female already has a low self-esteem. You could tell that this female already, this is nobody I would waste my time. You're gaining nothing out of this. Essentially, going back into what I stated, you were heating up a building with open windows. You're wasting your goddamn energy. But yet and still, this is what black men continue to do. Now, let me just go ahead and go into what this Negro here was stating. And just listening to him talk, it lets me know that many of you black men don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Many of you black men are sitting, listen, y'all try to talk for us as a goddamn collective and y'all sound fucking stupid. Let me just go ahead and say it like that. Y'all sound stupid, and it would behoove many of you to keep your goddamn mouth shut and stop attempting to speak to us as a goddamn collective, or speak for us, should I say, as a collective. Now, listening to this Negro, what did he say? When she stated her body was above average, he said he cringed. Not because he actually seen what she looks like and has drawn the conclusion that I have drawn. No. He cringed because he said, you know, if this is the first asset that you're bringing to the table as a woman, then you're going to fall short. Meaning, if she's bringing her looks as a first means of a connection to the table, then she's going to fall short. Now listen, had he worded that a little differently, then you actually might have made some damn sense. But like I told y'all, since black men cannot process the world around them, since they lack an understanding of themselves as men, we most certainly know they have no understanding when it comes down to women. So of course you are going to get a Negro who is going to get online and say some shit like this. First of all, let me just make this perfectly clear. If you understand the nature of men and women, men are physical creatures. So if a woman has good looks that she's bringing to the table, that's fine. If she's saying this is the first thing I'm going to play off of is my good looks, that's perfectly fine. If that's the only thing, however, that you are bringing to the table, then yes, you are going to fall short. But once again, Negroes don't word it like this. So now as you sit back and you analyze that a black man will get online and say something like this, first of all, if a woman is going to seek and gain a high value man, the first thing you have to understand are the laws of attraction. You have to make his third leg appeal. When he looks down at his, meaning this, when he looks down at his third leg, his soldier has to salute him. If he does not have liftoff, guess what? You in the world are hurt. If you cannot give this man liftoff, then you essentially have nothing to talk about. This is why you can find some of the most unattractive women that are nice, that are sweethearts, but cannot keep a man or get a man. Why? Because you don't produce liftoff. And you being physically attractive is going to be one of the biggest things, that whether it's going to entice a man to approach you, whether he's going to sit down and have a conversation with you, if you're talking about a high value man, whether he's going to want to spend his finances on you. So looks is very important. But once again, since black men don't understand this, they get online and they sound goddamn stupid. Since black men are online looking for a leader, they will co-sign anybody who simply aligns with their talking points. This is how black men are. They're not independent thinkers. We most certainly know they're not critical thinkers. This is why it becomes so easy to dupe black men the way you do. Because black men lack they lack analytical skills, they don't understand optics, and they cannot process the world around them. This is why they continuously get online and do the same thing they've been doing for the longest. In addition, in many cases, you're going to find these Negroes sitting around using vague, weak shaming tactics to black women. And they always talk about this hitting the wall. And essentially what this Negro tried to allude to is you're 35 years old, so you know, unfortunately, you're at a decline. Because as you get older, you decline as the man appreciates with assets and value. And this is what comes out their mouth. Now, if we're talking about her on a physical scale, if you ask me, she's already been on a decline. But let's just say that this was an attractive female, because beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. But let's just say she met my standards of physical attraction. And what you're gonna have a lot of black men doing is sitting here talking about this hitting the wall nonsense. You didn't hit the wall, you hit the wall. And they'll say this about a woman that's in her mid to late 20s, which is fucking stupid. They'll say this about a woman that's in her early to mid 30s, which is fucking stupid, because y'all don't know what y'all talking about. And if they understood anything about biology, And I'm going to get into that in a little bit later. But if they understood anything about biology, because this Negro also summed it up with her being 35 with a 13-year-old son. Even Kevin Samuels said this. If they understood the world around them, they would know why that becomes a slippery slope. But this Negro is talking about how we appreciate with assets and value because we're men and we seemingly age better. No. When people talk about a man can improve the older he gets, and this isn't necessarily true, not even for a sizable portion of you black men. This is a very small remnant of you that actually live this way. Many of you don't. That's just a fact. But if you're going to talk about from a physical scale, so let's just say at 30 you hit your prime. Depending on how you take care of yourself is going to determine on where you go when you hit 30. In certain cases, you might go slightly up, or you might coast at the same pace for a while. This could go on well into your 40s and 50s, depending on how you take care of yourself, depending on how you eat, depending on how often you exercise. These things make a difference. So if we're going to simply talk about a man and a woman, if we're comparing them on a physical scale, guess what? Men hit the wall at the same time frame that a woman will hit the wall. The only difference between a man and a woman is her bearing a child can take that much more of an effect or an adverse effect of her hitting that wall faster. But if you minus the child, guess what? It's pretty much at the same damn time frame that men and women will hit the wall. So when you hear black men sitting here talking about that, you gonna hit the wall, you gonna hit the wall, you hit the wall, you're dealing with a group of Negroes who understand that they have absolutely no power in society. And the fact that you're literally attempting to shame women only furthermore lets me know you don't have no goddamn power. And that is a complete waste of your time. Once again, why? Because you are heating a building with open windows. And stick with me. I'm going to break down that analogy for y'all in a sec. In just a little bit. Maybe later on in this video. But listening to this Negro, this is what he said. So if we're going off of looks, okay, that could be said about men and women. So if that's all it is, then okay, we got to try something else. So if we're going to judge a woman, and listen, when a woman hits 35, that doesn't mean that she necessarily hit the goddamn wall. That depends on how she takes care of herself. Hell, she can look good well into her damn 60s. So when y'all sitting around talking this foolishness, y'all got to ask yourselves, what are y'all talking about? But if we're judging it off of that, okay, we've established that both men and women can hit the wall. Now, if we're talking about assets and value, the woman, she owns a pet grooming business. Regardless of whatever y'all think about that business, she owns her own business. Okay, we're in 2020 right now. A lot of people, we know what has been taking place in 2020. This is an abnormal year. We know this. So since we know this, we understand that many people are out of work. We understand that many people don't know how they're going to get their next meal from. They pay their next month's rent. They don't know what they're going to do. They're sitting on the edge, not knowing what's getting ready to happen. And with that taking place, this woman managed to maintain a business despite the fact that you have many white business owners who have had their businesses shut down. They are fighting against governors right now because they are trying to get them to shut down their businesses and they refuse to shut them down. But this woman in 2020, at this late stage of the game, has still managed to maintain a six-figure income, a business that brings her in a six-figure income. So apparently she has assets and tangibles to bring to the damn table. Now, looks-wise, once again, that's on the eyes of the beholder, because it's just not working for me. But that can, somebody else might see something different. That's on you. But when you sit back and listen to black men sitting here trying to make these goofy ass analogies, you hit the wall and you got a 13-year-old son. Okay, that's something else that Kevin Samuels also stated. Now, just listening to this Negro who sat back and critiqued that live stream from Kevin Samuels, it lets me know that many black men do not, once again, it tells me they have failed to process the world around them. Because if they knew anything about biology, if they knew anything about the female body, they would understand that a prime time for a woman to produce children would be anywhere from her early to mid-20s. Some might even say her late teens to her mid-20s. Even though I don't recommend it, but we know that some do. As far as health-wise, as far as her body being at a prime, being able to do this, those are the prime years. You can do it in your 30s, but it's not recommended after your mid-30s. Some women do it in their 40s, but it's not recommended, once again. So when you sit back and you listen to a Negro, sit back here and he's now critiquing a female for having a 13-year-old son when she is 35 years old. So that means she would have had to have her son between the ages of 22, or conceive her child between the ages of 22 and birth him at 23, somewhere around that time frame. Once again, that's right in the time frame and in the frame rate of when she should be producing children. Why? Because this is the natural order in which things are supposed to be in. Women tend to push it back several years, in many cases not because they want to, but just based off of the circumstances of society, they have to. Which is something else. Once again, the Negro fails to analyze the environment around him. He fails to analyze society and understand what exactly is taking place. So the Negro looks at a woman that's 28 years old or 30 years old and expects her not to have a child. Now, listen, there's cases where that doesn't happen. But if you're dealing with a woman who's in her 30s or in her late 20s for that matter, you should expect her to have at least one child. Now, listen, I'm not trying to shame anybody and telling them, listen, man, you need to go ahead and date you a woman with a child. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is if you are going to date a woman in that age bracket, you should expect this. Now, if that's not what you're looking for, once again, I don't care what you do. You can go find somebody who fits the criteria of what you're looking for. But when you hear Negroes attempting to shame women, now if we want to talk about the circumstances in which she produced that child from, which I don't know. Were you married? Was this just a one-night stand? How did this go down? Depending on how that went down, you might be able to critique that situation. But what y'all are saying, and this is what Kevin Samuel said, you got a sketchy baby daddy. We don't know this. And typically when a woman's going to have a sketchy baby father is most likely when the child is younger. Then he want to come around when there's another person around the Negro, I want to get back with you. So I can understand why a man would say, nah, I'm cool. I don't want to get involved with that. But when you got a 13-year-old child, chances are that phase is over. He done moved on. He has him a whole nother life. If he comes around to see his child, he'll probably have his kid go to his house to go spend time with him. As a matter of fact, men who typically would deal with women with children would probably prefer that they have a child that's older so that way he's not around like that. I don't got to worry about him being in my face every 10 seconds. He's off at the ballpark playing ball with his friends. He's out at his boy's house playing video games. We got the house all to our damn selves. Now, depending on how you might look at that, it could be a good or bad thing, but I'm not here to judge that. I'm just telling you what happens under those circumstances. So when you hear of a black man sitting back to, well, you got a child. Well, once again, it lets you know that the Negro does not understand biology. He does not understand the female body, the female anatomy. And this is why he would get his black ass online and say things that literally make no goddamn sense. Furthermore, what these Negroes attempt to do is sit back and talk about how they can. This is what Kevin Samuel stated to this female, because somehow they got to the topic of, well, most younger women don't want older guys. And he responded back by saying, well, no, that's incorrect because I can't beat them off of me with a stick. And what you have, and I've listened to not only Kevin Samuel say things of this nature, but I've also listened to the likes of Obsidian say things of this nature. And what you are dealing with are older Negroes. As a matter of fact, I sat back and I listened to Obsidian a couple of years ago on a live stream. I think it was with Nyla Says, Cynthia G, and a few other people. And they were talking about dating an 18-year-old. Now, Obsidian is in his 50s. We know this. This is a fact. This man is in his 50s. And he's talking about dating an 18-year-old. And see, here's my problem with a lot of you goofy ass Negroes. Y'all sit here and y'all classify yourselves as high value men, because your stupid ass can sit on a damn video camera, dim the lights, put on soft music and light candles, talk in with a damn suit and tie on, all of a sudden calling yourself a high value man. If you think like this, then you are not of high value. You're just not. It shows where your mind state is at. When you think of a man in his 50s dating an 18-year-old, you got to question what the fuck is up with that. Listen, man, I'm in my late 30s, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna date an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 22. I'm not doing that shit. Why? Because I know my mind frame is completely different from where there's at that point in time. You're not even fully developed. And even though you might be fully developed physically, mentally, you're not where I'm at. So I'm not gonna sit here dealing with a child. First of all, I'm too grown for that. And then when you deal with an 18-year-old, a 19-year-old, chances are you live with your parents. So meaning when I come to see you, I literally either gotta come to your parents' house or come pick you up at your parents' house. Now, when I was 20 years old, I dated a woman that was 18. And I went through that bullshit then. And you know after a while when you've been showing up to a girl's parents' house, they're gonna wanna question you. What are your intentions for my daughter? What do you plan to... Listen, man, I don't got time for that. I'm not finna to sit up and listen to this. I'm dealing with a grown woman. She can make her own decisions. And it's not that I don't respect parents looking out for their daughters. I'm just not one who wants to be interrogated by them. The hell with that. Furthermore, what do I look like dating an 18-year-old and she still is going out to hang out with her 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 15-year-old friends? How do I look hanging out with my 18-year-old girlfriend and she's got underage people in 15, 16, and 17 hanging around us? How do I look? How does that make me look in my late 30s? I'm gonna tell you what that makes you look like. It makes you look completely fucking pathetic. That's what it does. How does it look when you are in your late 30s trying to compete against guys that are 15, 16, and 17 years old? How does that make you look that you're competing against a 17-year-old? You see, this is the mind frame where any man who, like I said, in my late 30s, this is where I'm at. You would figure a man in his 50s would be beyond that point, but they're not. They're not. They got no problem being around these young females. And this is comical because when you think about it, it lets you know the mind frame of first of all, what's sad about this is you will furthermore hear young black men sitting back co-signing this. Younger black men. And here's something that Sergeant Willie Pete said in his video when he addressed this whole thing. How would you younger black men feel when you have a 50-year-old and you're 25, 22, a man that's more than double your age, encroaching upon your territory, trying to snag the women that you're trying to get with, that are in your age bracket? How the hell would you feel behind that? He doesn't want to deal with somebody who's in his own age bracket or someone who's maybe, okay, he's in his 50s, she's in her 30s. Okay, no, he wants to go ahead and find somebody who's in their early 20s, late teens. How would you feel behind that? You see, for those of y'all who sit back and co-sign this shit, will be the very same ones who would have a problem with a Negro doing some shit like this. So when I sit back and I watch y'all co-sign this, it once again lets me know that you're dealing with black men who are looking for a leader to live vicariously through. This is why you're gonna have so many black men sit back and co-sign Kevin Samuels in what he did with these statements that he's made. And let me tell something for you younger black men. Kevin Samuels doesn't give a damn about you. He can care less. And I'm gonna get to that in just a little while. But what we are dealing with are Negroes who, they will completely, since they don't stand on no principles, since they have no foundation, they will co-sign anytime a black man simply chastises or seemingly checks a black woman. Even if it is to their very own detriment, they will sit back and co-sign that. Even if it means you are going to be usurped by some older Negro trying to encroach upon your territory, trying to date women that are in your age bracket that you're trying to get with. And the thing is, since you stand on no structure, since black men don't have any integrity, since they have no solid foundation, they don't realize this up until it's already too late. And this is essentially what you're dealing with. But once again, for you Negroes who sit back, let me say this the first time. For those of you who sit back and say this dumb shit, oh yeah, man, once we get older, we appreciate what assets of value, and we could be in our 50s and 60s, and we can still get young, hot 20-year-olds. Okay. Let me ask y'all this. A lot of the men who are gonna sit back saying stupid shit like this are probably men who don't have children. Probably men who don't have daughters. Because men who are fathers, and when I say fathers, I'm not talking about you got a child or children that you don't take care of. When I say father, you're actually active in your children's lives. You're active. And for those who are fathers rearing daughters, would not sit up and say no dumb shit like this. They would not sit up and co-sign no stupid shit of no fucking 50-year-old going ahead and dating a fucking 20-year-old. They just don't co-sign that shit. A lot of the Negroes who are going to sit back and co-sign this don't have children. So when you have younger black men sitting back and they agree with this, y'all say this is cool up until the point in time when you produce your own child and guess what? It's going to be a little girl. And then you got to worry about some creepy ass Negro in his fucking 50s that thinks he's a high value man because he might have a little bit of money to his name, and his stupid ass sits up on a fucking live stream putting on a goddamn suit and tie on. Yeah, you gonna have a problem with that same Negro trying to get with your fucking daughter. How would you feel behind that? You see, once again, what you have are black men who don't think through. They don't think the entire situation through. And since they want to live vicariously through another man, since black men by large are looking to be led, and this is what I'm seeing behind y'all, all over social media, all over mainstream media, black men are looking to be led. It is the most pathetic shit I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. So when y'all see somebody who seemingly is checking a black woman, even if it is at your fucking behest, I mean, even if it's to your own detriment, even if he's checking her off of the strength of her wanting to date your black ass, you will then sit back and co-sign that. Yo, man, that's right, man. You put her in place, man. That's right, man. We some high value men. This is how y'all think. A lot of you Negroes are flat out fucking buffoons. You don't think. And y'all will sit back and y'all will co-sign this nonsense. Now let me go ahead and tell you what my issue is with Kevin Samuels. I don't like Kevin Samuels. I've never liked him. I've only seen a handful of his content, and there was something in particular that he stated that just completely turned me off to him. Because you were typically dealing with, I've stated this time and time again, and other people on YouTube have stated this, that these older Negroes tend to become a real problem. And my problem when it comes down to the older generation of black men, many of you find yourselves in a situation where you never cared to do anything for your younger generation of black men. And this is why I say you Negroes, you younger dudes who sit back and y'all are co-signing Kevin Samuels, telling you this nonsense, y'all better be careful because he really don't even like y'all. And he stated this in a video. You know, a lot of the younger black men ask us, people like myself, well, what are you doing for us as older men? Why should we do anything for you? That's what Kevin Samuels stated. You never respected us. Well, that's the reason why you're not respected. Because you older Negroes have never passed down the goddamn torch. You've never passed down the goddamn bucket. And in many cases, Kevin Samuels is one of these older Negroes who thinks just like a Steve Harvey. And what was Steve Harvey stating back when he wrote his book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man? What was he saying? He was trying to tell black women, listen, stop dating these younger guys that are in your age bracket. You have a biological clock. We don't. Go for older men. This is what's taking place with these older Negroes, these washed up Negroes who are fucking failures. And since they want to relive their damn youth, and that's the only thing they can ever say that they've amounted to that has been successful for them, and not many of them can't even say that. Many of them can't. But they'll sit back and they'll say, you know what, ladies? Don't worry about these younger guys over here. Get with us. Because we don't have a biological clock. What these Negroes are doing to you younger dudes is they are encroaching upon your territory. And you ain't gonna see it up until it's already too late. Well, chances are it ain't really gonna be a significant number of them because, one, if we're gonna sit here and talk about older men can still pull hot, attractive younger females. Many of y'all can't do this. You really can't. And the only way you're actually able to pull this off is by actually spending money on them. I mean, you look at some of these Negroes who talk this foolishness. If you want to be able to say that you can still pull younger, attractive women in your 50s, when was the last time these Negroes went to the gym? When was the last time an obsidian picked up a dumbbell? You take a look at Kevin Samuels without that suit and tie on, he's skinny as a bag of bones. When was the last time y'all did anything to improve your goddamn physique? So when you sit back and you listen to these older men sit up here talking foolishness, this is what you're dealing with. You are dealing with older Negroes who are spending time attempting to encroach so they can relive their youth. And they want to compete with 25-year-old guys, 22-year-old guys. Listen, man, at that age bracket, if I'm in my 50s, I'm not competing against a goddamn 22-year-old. I'm not. Many people tell me, man, listen, do you got any kids? No. Do you want any kids? Down the line. Well, don't wait too late, man. You don't want to be an old man trying to keep up with your son. And I say, man, listen. Because this is how many of y'all think. You still want to be able to throw a basketball to your son. You still want to be able to play catch. Listen, man, listen. Let me tell you something right now. Let me tell you something. The day that ever happens for me, I'm not worried about playing basketball with my son. My basketball days are long behind me. I'm cool with that. I'm not there for that. I'll watch you in the bleachers and support you, but I'm not finna to go on the damn court doing crossovers and layups and dunks. I'm not, get the hell out of here, man. Are you serious? My knees are too old for that fucking shit, man. Get the fuck out of here. Any physical activity that I'm gonna be doing is gonna be in that goddamn gym. And that's the way we're gonna keep it. But I'm not trying to compete against you. I've had my moments. I've had my shine. I'm done. I've hung up that jersey a long time ago. You take the reins now. I don't care if I can never run a 40-yard dash with my son. How do I look, a man in my fucking mid to late 50s trying to fucking run a 40-yard dash with my 18-year-old 6'4" son? Are you serious? Listen, man, I know the lane that I occupy. I know that. That's not the lane that I've chosen to occupy. So therefore, I'm cool with not being able to do it. Listen, once again, I support you, but I'm not going to be competing against you. Get the fuck out of here. I'm too old for that shit. It's time I do what grown men do. It's that simple. And listen, if my son would sit back and say, well, you know what? My dad wasn't able to play a basketball. Let me say it this way. If I had to make a choice on what any child or any unborn child of mine would have to be upset with me for, I would rather them be upset with me because dad wasn't able to go and play basketball with me. Dad wasn't able to go do a crossover with me on the basketball court or do a layup or a dunk or throw me an alley-oop. I have no problem with that. Because if I can pass down the torch and leave resources to any children of mine, say, listen, I've set you up to be in a situation where you are better off than me than when I was your age. As a matter of fact, you are several steps better than me. You are several leaps and bounds better than me. I have positioned you so where you can go out in this goddamn world and you can compete and be a damn success. I'm not here to throw a basketball to you. If I can do it, fine. Is that my priority? Hell no. If I got to make a choice on what I'm going to sacrifice, all right, I'll sacrifice that basketball. I don't have no problems with that. Some young dude, yo, man, I challenge you to a game of hoop. Man, are you on your own, man? I'm sitting the fuck down. I'm good. My knees are too fucked up for that. Get the hell out of here. So when you see black men thinking like this, there's certain things that they don't understand. There's certain things that I process and I comprehend. So now, with all that out the way, I mentioned a little while ago that I was going to break down this analogy. And what y'all are essentially doing. And let me go ahead and say this. See, once you've been in the fields that I've been in, seen the various different types of machinery, how they operate, this is why I can use the analogies that I use and tie them directly in to the point that I'm trying to make. I can use the railroad analogies and tie it directly into the point I'm trying to make. I can use an engine analogy and tie it directly into the point I'm trying to make. I can use an analogy on boilers or heating systems and tie it directly in on the point that I'm trying to make, which is what I'm gonna get ready to do right now. And what I'm saying is y'all are essentially attempting to heat up a building or heating up a home with open windows. And it's kind of similar to saying, and I remember I heard something back in the 90s, and this was from the movie Ransom. Mel Gibson was in that movie, and you had the kidnappers who kidnapped his son and took his child for ransom. And one of the kidnappers was unaware that, listen, I didn't know we was going to be going this far with this kidnapping. I'm not letting y'all kill this kid. It's not going to happen. So he attempted to be nice to the kid and told the kid, listen, I promise I'm going to get you back with your parents. I'm going to see to it that we're going to get you back with your parents. And he would give the kid candy bars and things to just put him more so at ease. I mean, after all, the kid is tied up, tape covering his mouth, tape covering his eyes. He's in a dark room, music, can't hear nothing going on outside. So it's a scary situation. So the dude's brother's like, listen, man, what the fuck are you doing? Listen, look. With the candy bars and shit, man. It's just that you could be making beds in a burning house. And I love that analogy. Even though he didn't go into detail with it, I love the analogy. I love it when somebody can make a good analogy. And if y'all listen to David Carroll's last video, he told y'all how he gave me a football analogy when we spoke earlier during the week. And y'all know he loves using football analogies. What did he say? That if you got a man down and you go ahead and you jump on him once he's already been tackled, what's that? That's unnecessary roughness. That's a penalty. Now, I don't know anything about football, so I don't make football analogies. My analogies are based off of machinery. And once again, I'm gonna tell you black men this. What you Negroes are doing is attempting to heat a home that has open windows. What do I mean when I say this? I've been seeing black men all over damn social media. I literally can get online and go to Facebook and see black men putting up in these silly groups. One guy posted an image of a black woman and asked people, this is her circumstances. She makes between $20,000 to $28,000 a year. She's a nurse or whatever she's doing, works at the dental's office, something like that. I don't know. I don't remember the full details. Hopefully I got the picture circulating so you can see what she looks like. And pretty much ask these black men, would you be interested in somebody like this? Now, looks-wise, let me just go ahead and say this. I don't have a problem with the way she looks. I don't have a problem with it. I'm just going to be real. But then I look on the comment thread, and I don't got nothing to say about this. I'm just looking, and what I do is I go ahead and read the comments, and what I'm seeing are black men in this comment thread. Nah, I'll pass. Nah, she looked worse than the girl that was on Kevin Samuel's show. I mean, this is what black men are saying. And the ones who seem to have the most vitriol of what I'm noticing are these older, washed up black men. Many of them, they're saying this as if you look at them and they're a catch to look at. As if these Negroes can remember the last time they seen the inside of a goddamn gym. But this is what black men are literally attempting to do. I mean, first of all, I don't even feel any reason to respond to that. I mean, like I'll say it like this. With everything that has been taking place in 2020, the last thing that black men need to do is sit around focusing on how they're going to get some goddamn women. But yet and still, black men continuously waste their time in these back and forth banters that are absolutely fucking meaningless. It's meaningless. And what I'm seeing is many of them are attempting to literally shame black women. And let me just go ahead and make this perfectly clear. I'm not here to defend black women, if that's what y'all thinking that I'm doing. What I'm saying is y'all are wasting your fucking time, Negro. You have bigger fish to fry rather than to sit around and attempt to go back and forth or trying to shame females. That is a complete waste of time. That is some effeminate fucking behavior. Because men don't sit around doing what y'all do. You Negroes are the only group of men on the face of the planet that sit around on social media doing stupid shit like this. And y'all don't see nothing wrong with it. First of all, if she's not your cup of tea, fine. But what I find, which is ironic, and this is another reason why I tell many of you black men, y'all need to stop talking because you don't know what you're fucking talking about. Because many of you who act as if you have such high standards when it comes down to women and how she has to look, if you get a look at the women that they're with, we see that they don't even meet the criteria, not even in the slightest. So which is it? Does she have to be super attractive? Because we know this is only applicable when it comes down to black women. And let me go ahead and say this vice versa. Because this is the same thing when it comes down to black women, where they have all these high unrealistic expectations of who? Black men. Which lets me know by and large, you Negroes are fucking cowards. Because y'all only hold these standards when it comes down to one another. But since we're talking about black men here, this is what we're gonna deal with. Because black men will sit up here and make it seem you gotta look like this, and you just all this foolishness on how these females gotta look, only if they're black. Because we know that looks mean absolutely nothing to you Negroes when it comes down to a non-black female. The same way y'all told you can't have a kid at the age of 35 to 13, man, you on a decline. Well, we know a child means nothing to you, absolutely nothing to you, if it's a non-black woman. We know this. How do we know? Because I've seen y'all do this. When I'm sitting back and I'm watching you Negroes skipping down the block, singing songs and holding hands with morbidly obese females outside of your damn race. I mean, listen, man, it's one thing for these females to get online and say what they say about y'all, but when art starts imitating life, then what the fuck how do I defend this? How can I defend you black men when you Negroes are out here making yourselves look completely fucking ridiculous? When I can see this in an abundance. But yet, you get online and yet Negroes have such high standards. The Negro, I mean, it makes absolutely no goddamn sense. And I've seen these Negroes create these Facebook groups on black men who love white snow queens, black kings and white snow kings, stupid shit. And then when I see the females that y'all are going after, that are in these groups, and I say, God damn it, what the fuck is up with you Negroes, man? Seriously. Where do y'all set forth any standards of pride? Because these females can show up in your damn group looking any old fucking way. Y'all ain't got a problem with that. Oh, you're beautiful, queen. This is what y'all do. And typically what you are going to notice is these older, washed up, dusty ass niggas. These washed up has-beens sitting around just thirst bucketing over any piece of ass that they could possibly find. And if you're willing to thirst bucket over a fat, morbidly obese female outside of your race, and yet you can have somebody who shows an image of a black woman that's in shape, banging body, and you said, ah man, she worse than the girl that Kevin Samuel. Man, stop. You niggas sound fucking retarded. It is absolutely disgraceful that this is the shit y'all spend your time harboring on in 2020. This is of what is important to y'all. This shit is a flat out fucking embarrassment. And what you have, and what black men have showcased, is that y'all are trolls. Y'all are trolls. And here's another example of what I mean with these older washed up niggas. When y'all sit here and y'all co-sign a Kevin Samuels or an Obsidian talking about, yeah, we can get us a 20-year-old, we can get an 18-year-old. Why do you want an 18-year-old? She's hot! She's hot! What? Okay. I'll be damned. So she's hot. And that's the reason why you in your 50s want to get involved with a female that the two of you mentally have absolutely nothing in common with. You are completely incompatible. But because she's hot. Alright. You see, this is where these Negroes lie at this point in time. And like I said, the shit is flat out fucking embarrassing. So let me go ahead and say this. When I got out of high school, I joined a trade school. And when I was 18 years old. And at that time, I had the utmost respect for the older generation of men because I figured they've been around, they are experienced, you can learn a lot from them, and I could relate to them. Now, this still can be said about many older men, but we do understand that there is a sizable portion of older men, black men at that, who really are not worthy of any goddamn respect. And I remember when I was in that trade school, there was an older Negro who I really didn't have a problem with up until I started realizing that this Negro, for whatever reason, had it out for me. Was always cracking jokes on me. I mean, I crack jokes back and forth with the younger guys in my age bracket, but that would be expected. Why? Because we're young. Many of us are fresh out of high school. So, Jesus Christ. This is what we deal with over here. But anyhow, let me not let that sidetrack me from what I'm saying. All right, I figured I'd let that die down or stop before I continue further on with this video. But what I've noticed about this older Negro, and I believe this Negro was in his mid to early 50s, I can't remember, some older washed up Negro by the name of Bernard, if I'm not mistaken. And I remember he would always say a little slick shit out his mouth to me. And I've sat back and one time I heard him cracking jokes on the boots that I had on. Now, mind you, at this point in time, I was still living with my parents. And I didn't know. I said, okay, was he cracking on my boots? I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. I said, nah, he wouldn't have no reason to do that. So one time outside, I asked him, I said, what do you think of the footwear that I got? Oh, the idea, I mean, yeah. But this Negro would always say little slick shit out his fucking mouth. And after a while, it finally dawned on me. I still couldn't figure out why this was at that time. And some time ago, I thought about it again. Now, this was back in 2001? So we talking about damn near 20 years ago. And here you had a man who was in his fucking 50s who felt threatened when he seen a younger black man. Rather than trying to pass down knowledge, rather than trying to pass down wisdom, he looked at me as a threat, even though I tried to show him the utmost respect up until I realized that this man was a flat out piece of fucking shit. This is another reason why I don't got no patience for you older niggas. Especially when y'all want to come out y'all motherfucking mouth. Y'all can get your motherfucking asses whooped talking that stupid shit. You better respect your elders. Talk that stupid shit to me and see how far that goes. Because respect is not given, it's earned. And let's just face it, many of you older Negroes have not earned it. You're not worthy of the respect. Why? Because you're still sitting here trying to compete with 20-year-olds. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. When you're at that age bracket, you should be beyond that. I'm not competing against a goddamn 20-year-old. I'm at the point where I'm chilling, I'm relaxing. But this is what you will find. I've only seen black men doing stupid shit like this. In their 50s and 60s, still trying to be down with people in their early 20s. Are you fucking serious? But this is black men for y'all. Now, I mean, it eventually came to a point where I think it was my last days at that school, or right before he left or before I left. He's like, you know what, you all right, man. You all right. I got respect for you. And I'm thinking to myself, the whole damn time you showing me nothing but disrespect. The hell have I done to you, motherfucker? But like I said at that time, it didn't dawn on me. But for whatever reason, the Negro knew good deep down inside, he actually respected me. But refused to give me respect. So he would rather be a fucking asshole. And this is typically what it is when it boils down to black men. You older black men, I'm sorry, but many of you are flat out fucking failures. You're failures. So now, let me get into this analogy that I was getting ready to use. And like I said, before I even get into that, as I'm sitting back and I'm looking at this Facebook post, here you have a young female. I don't know who the hell she is. Somebody randomly put up a picture saying that this is a relative of theirs. Would y'all date her? This is her credentials. This is what she looks like. Body-wise, she's attractive. Her face, I don't have a problem with how she looks face-wise. But many of you Negroes, I mean, y'all sit back and y'all start trolling in on this female. I've never seen no shit like this in my life. And typically what I'm seeing are older, washed up black men who should be setting a goddamn example. Who should be able to say, listen, man, we paved the goddamn way, but the fact of the matter is you niggas ain't paved shit. This is why in y'all fucking 50s and 60s, you washed up Negroes are sitting around on panels on Facebook trolling black women. In many cases, the very same woman that found herself on the Kevin Samuels show being berated. That right there is enough. Leave it alone. As David Carroll referenced, if you use the football analogy, listen, she's down. If you jump on her or tackle her, guess what? We got to put you at a penalty. Why? Unnecessary roughness. So now when I go to Facebook and I see that you Negroes have not only are still ridiculing her on Facebook, but y'all went as far as to troll this goddamn female to the point where y'all dug up her pictures, y'all dug up her information. This is what y'all did. And this is when you look at her, she's not an attractive female. Why do y'all care to spend so much time trolling in on a fucking female? When you see a group of men doing this, you know that you are dealing with a powerless group of men. These Negroes have absolutely no power in society, and this is why they're sitting around doing the stupid shit that they do. The only thing they can do is sit around and troll a bunch of fucking females. And many of y'all will get mad. Well, if you pull the Negro to the side and ask, man, Negro, what the fuck are you doing? Why the fuck are you going to this woman's her Facebook page, taking pictures of her and plastering her all over the goddamn internet as if she even holds relevance like that? Well, the reason why I'm doing it because she said she gonna just give black men a chance that are beneath her. Okay, so she wants a 6-figure income guy. Fine, I don't care what she wants. What she wants and what she's gonna get are entirely two different things. So if she says she's now trying to give black men who are beneath her a chance, then you don't date her. It's that fucking simple. Any female that thinks she's giving you a chance because you're beneath her and you should be honored for her to be in your presence, you tell the bitch, man, listen, go find what the fuck you looking for. I'm not your charity case. And I told this shit to a woman some years back. And I brought her ass down to fucking tears. Because she tried to give me a whole analogy. You're typically not the guy that I would date. So why are you with me? Why are you dating me? Do I like you? No. If you're looking for a guy who has this opulent income, lives a lavish lifestyle, then I'm sure you can find some people who live right there in your own complex. In that expensive complex that you live in. Why are you here? She broke down in tears. Because what I made perfectly clear, I'm not your fucking charity case. I don't need, nor do I want your goddamn sympathy. It is just that simple. I don't believe in shaming a female into anything. Either you're gonna date me or you're not, and that's it. I don't care. Because once you decide, okay, well, nah, you ain't the guy that I would date. I'm looking for somebody who makes this kind of an income, drives this kind of a car, owns this many assets, has X amount of home. All right, then go ahead and find that. That's what I'll tell you. I'm not gonna argue with you. It's a waste of my fucking time. So if this female is sitting there talking about she wants a man with a 6-figure income, but she realizes she can't pull a man with a 6-figure income because maybe she doesn't meet the criteria, and now she's like, well, I decided to give guys a chance who are beneath me. Then for those of you guys who she's trying to date that she deems are beneath her, you don't date her. It is just that fucking simple. I don't have to sit here browbeating you because life will show you. That's what I believe in. This is another reason why you've never seen me sitting on panels arguing back and forth with women. I'm not doing that shit. So when you Negroes are sitting around going back and forth, engaging in foolishness, I'm gonna go ahead and troll her. This is what she look like. This is what she look like. Okay, man, dude, stop. That is some weak ass fucking shit. Because the only place I have ever seen you Negroes engage in this foolishness where y'all start doxing people, pulling out people's information, their pictures, you've only done this to other black people. That is the only time y'all get bold enough to do some shit like this. And in the case for what? Because she thinks she wants a 6-figure man? Okay, as if that's a fucking crime for her to want a guy that makes 6 figures. She can want what she wants. Who the fuck cares? But this is where black men are sitting around trolling people over, and y'all wonder why y'all are the most powerless and least respected group of men on the face of the fucking planet. And this is why a group of cowardly Negroes will sit around huddled up like a bunch of flies at a campfire around Kevin Samuels as if he is somehow your goddamn God, because you Negroes are looking to be led. Because you have no backbone, you have no foundation, you lack a spinal column. So any man that can seemingly do what you wish you can do, because of course you Negroes could not dare check any female like this. So when you see somebody else doing this, you live vicariously through them. And let me tell you something else about Kevin Samuels right now. I know that the only type of woman Kevin Samuels would reserve this behavior for is a black woman. Now, granted, if they deserve it, then fine. But I don't think a woman that says, hey, I would like a guy that makes a six-figure income because I make a six-figure income, that's not a reason for me to ridicule her. It isn't. I've got no reason to do so. You can want what you want. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. The way I would have handled that situation, okay, well, if you want a six-figure income guy, you can want that. What are you going to do to go about getting it? I'm not here to coach you on how you could get one. What are you going to do? And if that doesn't work, then what do you plan on doing next? Just that simple. And if you think you got the strategy figured out, okay, call me back in a couple of months and let me know how that worked out for you. It is just that fucking simple. I don't got to sit here browbeating you because it is a complete waste of my fucking time. Men who sit around doing shit like this are powerless men. Men who sit around going back and forth with women are powerless men. I don't give a fuck how much of a high value Negro you classify yourself as because you might make a pretty good income. At the end of the goddamn day, listen, Kevin Samuels, you are an image consultant. At any given time, if people decide, listen, we don't need you to tell us how to dress, where do you go from there? And I'm almost certain that the majority of your money does not come from you consulting people on their image. Because if that's what it was alone, chances are you're gonna just make a regular income. You're just a middle class citizen, which six figures is essentially middle class, maybe just a little bit higher up. But I'm almost certain that the majority of your money comes from the very same people who support you on YouTube. And listen, I ain't got a problem with that. But just listening to some of the things that Kevin Samuels has stated, it lets me know where he lies. Kevin Samuels is not about black empowerment. This is why he said, why do us as older black men have to do anything for the younger generation? Y'all follow that bullshit because y'all think that's really important in 2020. And y'all wonder why y'all get absolutely no damn respect out of your women. And now I'm going to break down that analogy of heating a building with open windows. Okay? Y'all know that I've been a super for a number of years. And in many different cases, I would get complaints about heat. The law requires me, as a superintendent, or when I was a superintendent, that anytime the temperature drops below 55 degrees, anytime from October 1st, from 6 a.m. all the way up to 10 p.m., I'm required of keeping a minimum amount of heat, at a bare minimum, at least 68 degrees. That's during the daytime, from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. After 10 p.m., if it drops below 40 degrees, I am required at a bare minimum to maintain 55 degrees. But if it don't drop below them temperatures, I'm not required to give them heat. So in many cases, people will come to me in September, hey man, can we get some heat now? Why not, man? I'm getting cold in my apartment, don't care. It's not the season for heat, so therefore you get none. When the season for heat starts, that's when you get it. And even in many cases, when the heating season started, I would get these complaints about heat. And people are complaining because at some point in time, I started regulating. You're not going to get it all damn day. You're going to get a burst of heat. It's going to be enough to warm up your apartment, and then it's going to shut down. That's how that's going to work. And in many cases, I would go into their apartments when they would complain, oh man, I'm cold, man, I'm cold. You see, it's nice and warm in here when the heat is on, but I'm cold. But I go in the apartment, okay, you got every single window open. The minute I go into that apartment and you got windows open, guess what? Your complaint becomes null and void because the heat was just on an hour ago. Yeah, I know it's on, but you know, why are the windows open? But no, that's not the problem. See, when the heat is on, it's nice and toasty here. No, and no. Because I'm not running heat to heat up the outside of the building. I'm running heat to heat up the inside of the building. Now, if that's what you want to do and keep your windows open, just be prepared. When that heat shuts off, you better be prepared to close them windows. Or guess what? If you forgot to close it and you wake up and the place is cold, you're just going to have to take that one to the chin until the next time the heat come back on. But you're not getting accommodations. Why? Because we don't pay to heat the outside of the building. We believe in being efficient. That's simple. So when I would see stuff like this go on, your complaint now becomes null and void. And even though the place might get nice and comfortable, you might get that nice, comfortable breeze where you get that combination of cold and warm air mixing in and it feels just great. Oh man, this is wonderful. But guess what? We're not running the heat all goddamn day. And once that heat goes off, you better have them windows closed. Because if I come up here and you make a complaint about heat and I come up here and I see windows open, your complaint becomes null and void. In many cases, they will call an inspector from the city. Inspector from the city will come in. Okay, the building lobbies are warm, radiators are toasty. All right, let's go to 1 or 2 apartments and I'm out of here. And they would get into those apartments and see windows open. Guess what? Your complaint becomes null and void. Why? You have windows open. We're not paying to heat the outside of the building. This is what any landlord would tell you, any superintendent would tell you if you're complaining about heat and they go up there and they see the damn windows open. We're not paying to heat the outside of this building. We're not doing that. What am I saying when I say this? Okay, let me break this one down for y'all. You black men sitting around here, and let me go and say this much. I'm not even going to say that I necessarily disagree with Kevin Samuels on his stance when it comes down to what he said about this woman. I just wouldn't waste my time going about it in the way he did. I don't think it's not, I mean, she's already down. We can look at her and tell you have a low self-esteem. We can look at her and tell you are of a low frequency. We know this. So therefore, it is not in my best interest to sit here and keep kicking you while you're down. It's just that damn simple. Why? Because you're already down. I don't need to do anything else. It's the same thing if it comes down to the UFC or any fighting or sports or whatever. Once the person is down, the referee's going to tell you back up. There's nothing you need to do. They're already down. If you continue, guess what? That's a disqualification. You forfeit that match. Why? Because the person was already down. Just like David Carroll mentioned with the football analogy. If they're down and you go ahead and pile up on top of them, guess what? Unnecessary roughness, that's a penalty. You might be disqualified and tossed out of that goddamn game. Keep the shit up. What am I saying when I say this? You black men who sit back and y'all live vicariously through what you've seen take place with Kevin Samuels browbeating this female, or anytime you see black men browbeating females. And let me make this perfectly clear. In this situation, it wasn't warranted. There's certain scenarios where it's warranted. This is a female that nobody knows. This is a female, as far as what I know, no one can actually showcase her having content on social media downing black men. At least from what we know. There are a point in time where it is absolutely necessary. And I'll take you back 5 years to when it was absolutely necessary. And y'all seen the video clip. I was on the Chat Factor radio show when this happened, when David Carroll called in with Crystal and Carrison. And y'all seen what the hell happened. This man cut into her. But he didn't disrespect her. He cut into her. He let her know, listen, this is what you're not going to do. You're not going to run that blatant hypocrisy bullshit on me. You're not going to overtalk me. You're not going to play that hypocritical role on me. I'm going to say what I got to say and get back to watching this game. And he called her out. Now that somebody took that insert from that audio clip and posted it on YouTube. The video, it went viral at that time, if I'm not mistaken. But now when it comes down to Crystal and Carrison, yes, that was worth it. She was worthy of getting her ass ripped into two. Why? Because Crystal and Carrison for years has been saying underhanded shit about black men. Every chance she gets, taking undercut jabs at black men. So yes, that was warranted. This female over here, this shit ain't even warranted with her. Are you serious? Because of what? She says she wants a 6-figure guy? Are y'all serious? But see, and this is just now dawned on me, because Kevin Samuels didn't even do this with Crystal and Carrison. Now, if he should have done this with anybody, she's the one he could have done this with. Why? Because she has a history of throwing black men under the bus. Not only did he not do this with Crystal and Carrison, but yet you modded her up. You wrenched her up on your platform, made her a moderator. Please explain this, Mr. Kevin Samuels. Because this shit right here makes absolutely no goddamn sense. And then even after you did all that, she still backed down because y'all was supposed to have a one-on-one discussion. And she said, nah, to hell with that. To hell with that. I ain't doing that shit. And you didn't reserve that level of disrespect toward her. A black female who is literally deceiving her audience day in and day out on YouTube and has been doing this shit for a number of years. I ain't even got to get into that. I've explained it years ago. I'm done talking about that. Or better yet, I might address that later on in another video. Let me say that much. So now, let's just take this back to this female. And why you have not even the same female, but the likes of people like a Crystalline Carrison. And despite the fact that David Carroll ripped her a new one, despite the fact, and I told y'all the reason why back in 2015 when I was on that Chad Factor radio show with her, I told y'all why I lost the debate. And I didn't lose the debate because she brought forth such a great argument. No, the points that she was making didn't trump anything. She said nothing that would gain her steam or momentum in the position she was initially putting out. But I told you the reason why I lost that debate. I lost the debate, and it's simple. Because here I was attempting to use logic and reasoning with somebody who clearly cannot comprehend logic and reasoning. Either that or they don't want to, or they're being dishonest. And it's probably a combination of both. And this is what I mean when I say, or use that analogy, you're attempting to heat up a building with open windows. So although, and what is that? What is that heat? The heat that came up that day when I was on that panel, because like if you were going according to how I was running heat back in those days, we run heat on cycles. The heat don't run constantly. There's gonna be times throughout the day when that heat come up, and there's times it's gonna come up aggressive. It's gonna come up strong, and it's gonna shut down. What was that heat? That was David Carroll calling in that day. Now, when you live in a building, you don't know when the heat can come on. It could come on at any given time. You have no control over it. It just cycles in the minute it gets cold. It comes up automatically. The temperature drops, bam, boiler kicks on, starts sending up steam. That's what happened that day. So as I'm sitting down having that conversation with Crystalline Carrison, guess what? Bam, it got cold. Bam! Boiler cycled up. Guess what? Heat came up. So now you got steam coming up in the pipes. What is the heat coming up right there? That was David Carroll ripping her a new one. And like I said, when the heat come up strong, guess what? It might not run that long. It runs for a brief period of time and shuts back down. What do I mean when I say this? David Carroll came in. I'm going to say what I got to say, that he's running the heat. And then when I'm done, we shutting back down and I'm finished. I'm going to go back to watching this game. So the heat came up. It warmed the place up. It lit the place on fire and then shut back down, doing what a steam cycle does. Now, was it effective as far as actually, now let me say this much. If it's a matter of changing the mindset of somebody like a Crystalline Carrison, no, absolutely, it wasn't effective. If it was a matter of calling her out on her bullshit, okay, we can say that was effective. But a lot of you Negroes don't understand in the realm that you operate in. So a lot of y'all would do what y'all do just so y'all can so you're hoping that you're going to put these females in place and get them to submit to what you want them to submit to, and that doesn't happen. Now, why would that not be effective, trying to get her to submit on that level? Why? Which I can care less about her submitting, but I'm just using it as an example. Why is that? Because you are heating a home with open windows. So just as hot as it was when the heat came up that night, when we were on that blog talk radio, the heat came up for a bit. You heard the steam hissing through them radiators and pipes started banging, and guess what? When it was done, the place was toasty, the shit shut back down, and shortly after the heat shut back down, it got cold all over again. Why? And what do I mean when I say it got cold all over again? Why did it get cold? Because it did not change the mindset of somebody like a Crystalline Carrison. And this is what really becomes sad when I think of you black men who sit on panels going back and forth for people like this, because you're not going to change their mindset. And as a matter of fact, she didn't back down, she only doubled down. This is what we dealt with. And this is the same thing when it comes down to black women all across this nation. A lot of you black men who think that y'all are checking these women, I'm going to berate her on a panel, just like Kevin Samuels go ahead and saying what he said about that female. What happened? According to what David Carroll said, and I got to go ahead and actually try to find this live stream, Crystalline Carrison did not like what Kevin Samuels said about this female. And what did she do? She went ahead and got a white guy to have a live stream with her essentially attempting to belittle Kevin Samuels. Essentially calling this very same black female, who is below average if you ask me, in my personal opinion, but to say that she's beautiful, despite the fact that, well, I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb here and say he probably really did not even mean that shit, but just will go ahead and say it. And you got to wonder why he would say this. And this is where I say you black men are essentially attempting to heat up a home with open windows. You are wasting your fucking energy. This is another reason for the past 3.5, 4 fucking years, I've been telling you black men, stop arguing back and forth with these goddamn women. This is a complete waste of your goddamn time. And you Negroes, every chance y'all get, y'all want to be in the faces of females, wasting your fucking time. You are gaining no ground with this. And before I even finish up with this analogy, let me just go ahead and let you know, and this once again ties into what I say when black men have no analytical skills, when they can't process the world around them or the environments in which they operate in. And a typical example of this is when these Negroes call into a Cynthia G panel and attempt to debate her. And when you listen to these Negroes attempt to debate her, essentially what she does is she dog walks you Negroes, puts a leash on you Negroes, putting a dog collar chain around you Negroes, and dog walks you up and down a fucking maze. This is what she do. And then she leaves you there to look stupid. Now, for those of you who don't understand the tactics that she is using, I'm going to break it down for you. And the only way a Negro is going to be able to debate her and hold her accountable is somebody who stands on principles. Somebody who has a foundation. Somebody who stands on integrity, which we know you Negroes don't stand on none of this. This is why somebody can easily persuade you from your initial point and get you running all over the fucking place like a goddamn dog chasing a fucking frisbee. This is essentially what they do. So now, to go ahead and reference the tactics that a Cynthia G would use, and this is just a general or generic example. Let's say we are talking about how the automobile has revolutionized the way we do things in life, the way we travel, and the way we get things done. How we are able to get to point A to point B. You want to give a tribute to how the automobile has contributed to society and all the wonderful things that is made possible now that we have automobiles. So let's say you start off the statement by saying the automobile is a major contribution into society. It has revolutionized the way we travel and transport in this society. The engine is essentially the heart of the automobile. Pause that for a second, because the minute you start saying this, Cynthia G will then interrupt you. And what she is going to do is she doesn't want you to deal with the automobile and how it has revolutionized and has been a major contributor into society. She wants to get you off of that. So the minute you start saying the engine is essentially the heart of the vehicle, she is then, what she's going to attempt to do is try to dissect that engine. Well, what makes the engine the essential part of the vehicle? Well, the engine provides momentum, movement to the vehicle. It also supplies the electricity by powering an alternator. It also provides the climate control, the heat, the air conditioning. All of this is done through the momentum of the engine. Well, why is it done through the momentum of the engine? And how is it done through the momentum of the engine? Well, that is done through power assemblies or cylinders. So what do you mean when you say power assemblies? How many cylinders does it have? Then next thing you know, y'all talking about what size engine you got. Well, what makes the cylinders go? That's internal combustion through some type of fuel injection system. Or what kind of fuel injection? This can consist of either diesel, gasoline, or propane. Okay, so if you're saying that this is the case, then shouldn't the engine be the great contributor to society? No, because the engine is not the vehicle. The engine is what powers the vehicle. Well, wait a second. If you're going to say that the engine powers the vehicle, isn't the wheels what moves the vehicle? But the engine is what powers the wheels, so that's what make return. If you don't have, so that goes right back to my initial point. Isn't the engine the heart of the vehicle? And before you know it, y'all going to be sitting here talking about everything else. Y'all gonna be talking about the roads and the pavements in the roads and how often the roads are maintained, a bunch of irrelevant bullshit that has nothing to do with the point that you are ultimately trying to convey. And see, a Negro an individual who doesn't stand on principles, who's not focused like a laser, who comes from a shady background, has no integrity or no strong foundation, is going to allow somebody to get him to deviate in such a manner. But now somebody who understands the point that they are trying to make and they're focused like a laser, this is my point, this is the message I'm going to convey, and this is what I'm sticking to. I'm not deviating. And even if you find yourself slightly being deviated, quickly you're going to pick up, okay, this is not a matter of trying to understand the automobile. What you are attempting to do is to get me off subject matter. So when you start having this conversation, he says, well, what about how is the engine the most key and essential part of the vehicle? Shouldn't that be the heart, what has contributed to? Oh, wait, whoa. I've given you a brief breakdown of the engine, okay? But the point that I'm making here is not about the engine. It is about the automobile. So we're not going to talk about power assemblies in the engine. We're not going to talk about what size engine you have and how many cylinders it has. We're not going to talk about the torque ratio and the wheel diameter. We're not here to talk about that. We're not talking about the pavement and what kind of concrete is on the fucking road. We're not here to talk about that. What I'm talking about is the vehicle and how it has contributed to our society. That's it. So if you go anywhere else with that shit, you're on your own. And essentially what she's trying to do when she does things like this, she's trying to get you off focus. And what she is doing, she is dog walking you or getting you to chase her through a fucking maze that she already knows the ins and outs of. Mind you, you don't know your way through the shit for nothing for a can of goddamn paint. And after she has got you to chase her to the cores and the depths of this goddamn maze, she dipped out and left you there stranded. And now you stuck in the middle of this maze trying to figure out how the hell you're going to get back out. This is essentially what they do to you. And this is why I tell you Negroes, man, listen, stop finding yourselves on these panels going back and forth with women. When you got somebody like a Kevin Samuel sitting around doing this, listen, this is counterproductive. It is counterproductive, dude. Seriously. I don't understand how you Negroes believe at this point in time that we don't need to establish economics for black people. We black men don't need to establish coalitions and alliances with other like-minded black men. Y'all don't ever talk about this. You can't seemingly get these Negroes to discuss politics and how we're going to get things to work to our agenda. None of the above. But every last one of these Negroes, you can get them all on the same page when it comes down to how they're going to get some pussy. This is where they're at. This is an utter fucking embarrassment. When it comes down to talking about things that are significant, they don't care to do this. And what they rather do is sit around and browbeat a bunch of goddamn females. And this is why I use the analogy. You are attempting to heat a home with open windows. Because even though you might make them feel bad or make this woman feel bad for a short period of time, and that is all it'll ever be, is a short period of time, she does not need to come to you for her validation. Because just as quickly as you can bring down her self-esteem, Crystal and Karazin will go ahead and get a white guy to go forth and reconfirm her validation. This is what it is. So all that heat that you just brought up, all them radiators boiling up at 215 degrees, 220 degrees, guess what? The minute you shut the heat cycle down, it gets cold all over again. Yeah, it was hot as hell when you put them shits on with all the windows fully open. Shit, we had to put the air conditioner on. You done brought up so much goddamn heat. But guess what? The minute you turn that thermostat down, it gets cold all over again. And not only does it get cold, but it now freezes. They don't back down, they double down. This is the point that I'm trying to make to y'all. At some point or another, y'all better be able to see this shit for what it is. And what I'm trying to ultimately say behind this is there is a reason why black women are the way they are. There's a reason why that is. Okay? And let me just go, before I even go into anything else, let me just say this much about Kevin Samuels. Because I got a few other things I want to say about him, but I'm going to say one thing right now, then I'm going to get back to him in a minute. But there's been a lot of talk about this man being a homosexual or whatever the case may be. And listen, I'm not here to judge anybody's sexuality. But I will say this much, man. Listen. When you're sitting in a video talking about you're surprised you didn't turn out to be gay, you're opening yourself up for that one. You've opened up the floodgates for that one. When you're sitting in a video with a bag with a little fanny pack, whatever the hell that shit is that you put on. I mean, guy, seriously, listen, how the hell are you an image consultant and you don't see something wrong with that shit? Now, we're not talking about a briefcase that you can take the strap and put it over your shoulder and carry it like that. No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about a little, I mean, come on, let's just, to be honest, a fag bag. I mean, there's just no other way I can say this, guy. That doesn't look good on you. So if you wonder why people are questioning what they see, when you got images like this circulating, and listen, let me go ahead and say this much, because these images that I'm finding are popping up all over social media. I'm not looking for them. I can randomly go to Facebook and see images like this. So at what point in time do you begin to question and say, this is probably not a good look? I don't care if you want to put on a suit and tie. I applaud black men putting on suits and ties, but that doesn't make you a high value man. I don't care if you want to smell nice and have a nice background in your video setup. That's all good and dandy, but that doesn't make you a high value man. Because until you begin to realize the reason why black women are the way they are, and to check that system that enables them to do what they do, this is another reason why I tell you Negroes, you are essentially heating up a home with open windows. The ultimate point of what I'm saying is what you're doing is in vain. You're being completely inefficient. Why? Because the black woman does not need to come to you. She does not need you for her validation. She does not need you when it comes down to her survival. She does not need you for your protection. She does not need you for your resources. This is another reason why I keep telling you black men, stop arguing with these goddamn women and start establishing these things. This is what's going to build a goddamn community. This is what's going to put you into a position where you can really classify yourself as a high value man. And the fact that these females would get a white man to check a black man, that right there just lets you know where their mind frame is at. This is where they're at. So when you see black females engaging in this behavior, they know that there is a system. And this is the same thing that they say. This is the same shit that Cynthia G says. When you Negroes say, well, we're gonna, what do y'all say? We're going to exile you out of the community. What do they turn around and tell you? From what? Exile me from what? This is what black women say. Why? Because they know collectively you have no fucking power. Now, some of y'all might think because you got a 6-figure income that means you got some kind of power. Listen, a man who looks nothing like you can strip you of that 6-figure income at any given time. Now, as far as that's concerned, and this is what lets me know where Kevin Samuels really stands. Because the video where he said, I'm surprised I didn't turn out gay. This is a video that he did back in 2017. I believe it's called Why Men Simp. And listen, he makes some good points. I'm not going to disagree with him. But what just sitting down and listening to this video, what it reminds me, or what it lets me know, it confirms for me where Kevin Samuels really stands. Kevin Samuels is not going to get online saying certain things because he feels it is going to damage his brand. So you got to wonder where a bulk of that 6-figure income comes from. Is it from you being an image consultant? Or is it due to the funds that you're getting here on YouTube? Which, if you can make money at it, go ahead. I ain't got a problem with that. But if you take away those funds on YouTube, does the image consultant position that you have, does that actually bring in the same income? Is my question. So Kevin Samuels doesn't want to say certain things on YouTube. Why? Because somebody can shut down his platform and demonetize his black ass at any given time. And guess who that will be? It's not going to be a black woman. It's not. You see, once you understand this, it lets you know that at any given time, as much as you classify yourself as a high value man, certain things that you say can get you demonetized. Certain things that you say can get you blacklisted, can get you involved in this cancer culture bullshit. Because somebody else disagreed with you. And they can now strip you from whatever resources or high value income that you thought you had. And the thing is, black men don't want to check the system that enables that, which is not black women. Black women might benefit behind that, and what they'll do is they'll go ahead and they'll go and tell their dad. So at the end of the goddamn day, I know where I stand. Listen, I'm not dealing with the black woman when it comes down to the shit she's on, the dysfunctional bullshit she's on. I'm gonna tell you, go get your dad. Get your dad. I want to talk with him. Who am I talking about? Y'all can put 2 and 2 together. I'm not wasting my time arguing with you. Get your dad. This is who I want to talk to. Until you black men are willing to check that system that enables them for doing what they do, you will never have say-so over this black woman. And when you listen to the black man, people like an Obsidian, and you ask him, okay, well, all the stuff that you say about black women, do you view white liberal policies as the problem? Oh, I don't view white men as a problem. They my brother from another mother. This is how you Negroes talk. And let me just give y'all some examples. Many of you Negroes go through many different problems when it comes down to relationships. Let me say this much. My past 3 relationships that I've been in, 2 out of those 3 ex-girlfriends still try to remain in contact with me. All 3 of those ex-girlfriends were out of pocket when I was with them. I'll give you an example of my last ex-girlfriend. As a matter of fact, I've done a video back in 2012, which I still have posted on my channel. I reposted it or made it public again. The Spiteful, Vindictive, Manipulative Women series. And that was of my first ex-girlfriend. I've given y'all an entire breakdown on the shit she was on. That's a classic video series. I think it's like a 5 or 6 part video series. Y'all need to go check that out. 2012. That's when I produced it. But my last ex-girlfriend. And I will admit, at that time, at least throughout the beginning of the relationship, I had some simpish ways with her. And she did many things that were just blatantly out of line, blatantly disrespectful, which I should have cut her ass off immediately behind that. And one of the things she was doing is she kept on talking about how she had a guy friend that knew her since they were in high school. Never attempted to get with her beforehand, but suddenly, as soon as I'm with her, now all of a sudden he's pushing so hard to get with her. I remember it was to one point where I called her, and I don't get a pickup. Instead, I get a text message saying that so and so is sleeping. I'll tell her you called. And I said, who is this? This is so and so. Like, why? Who the fuck? Why do you have a man reading your text messages? Number 1, why does he even have access to your phone? Number 2. Why the fuck would he feel comfortable enough to respond to me in a text message? Now, for all I know, perhaps there was never another man in the picture and this was her pulling this bullshit. I don't know. I don't care because I left her ass alone a long time ago. But what she continued to keep doing is keep bringing this guy to my attention. Just talking about how it was getting more intense with him trying to get with her and how he kept calling her and telling her how he felt, how he randomly would show up at her house, just stupid shit. And like I said, I admit that back at that time, I had some simpish ways. One of the reasons why, because I had some simp ass Negroes for friends at that time that were giving me fucked up advice that I was listening to. This is how you can win her over. And the fact of the matter is, when you're dealing with a female that's out of pocket, you don't win her ass over, you cut her ass off. It is that simple. That's what I didn't get throughout the initial stages of that relationship. So for a while, I battled back and forth. I tried to find common ground. I tried to find everything that would make actual sense, and none of these things worked. This was a female that knew she was blatantly out of line. She knew this. And as long as she thought I was going to keep fighting for her, I'm not going to back down. I'm only going to double down. Because shit, if what she was saying was true, then fuck it. I got 2 fucking guys who want to be with me. They want to be with all this. Shit, I can play this off until the wheels fall off. Up until the point where I said, all right, enough is enough. Enough is enough. And it got to a point where, and I told y'all this before, in past relationships with these ex-girlfriends who try to give me some type of ultimatum, I'm like, listen, I'm not going for that. Oh, I don't think we need to be together. Okay. You have a good night. And when they leave, what they were typically expecting was for the door to open up and close and then hear footsteps running behind them, and here I'll be behind them. Oh, no, baby, come on, baby, please, don't do that. Don't leave me. I love you, girl. Come on, I was out of line. I'd never do that to you. No, they didn't get that. Instead, when they left, the only thing they would hear after they left is the sound of the lock clicking. Clack, 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 clack. That's that thud of metal clashing. And not of the door opening and closing, but of the locks being applied. And when they heard this is when the reality dawned on them. Oh shit. Let me walk a little further. Let me just process this a little bit more. In many cases, they wouldn't even get back home. In one case, I had an ex-girlfriend sit in the park for half an hour trying to process and digest what the fuck just happened. Did this motherfucker just let me go? He's supposed to be running behind me. And what I tell them is, listen, you want to go? There's the fucking door. Don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out. You see, they don't expect this. So when this actually happens to them, in many cases, they don't even get 5-10 minutes away, they're calling you back. How could you just let me go? Because that's what you said you wanted to do. Don't you ever say no shit like that to me, because I will let you have that if that's what you really want. Don't ever talk like that to me again. But see, what that did was it let them know this is where I stand. And all the times simping or trying to reason with them, trying to negotiate with their bullshit and foolishness, and this is the same analogy that I use with somebody like Cynthia G. When you get into arguments with these females, what you were going to notice is that the arguments make no sense. You were attempting to, and this is another reason why I say you Negroes are attempting to heat a home with open windows. You are attempting to use logic and reason with somebody who either number one cannot process this, or number two refuses to hear it and is being dishonest. So they are going to keep attempting to manipulate, and no matter how many times you catch them in their bullshit, they're only going to keep spinning it back and forth. And before you know it, you're going to be chasing them around in the same circle and right back to the same point. It's just going to be brought forth in a different formation, but it's the same shit. And at some point, you as a man have to wake up and realize you're playing fucking games with me. I don't have time for this shit. I'm not going to argue with you. And the thing is, when you're dealing with people who think like this, you as a man have to quickly be able to analyze what type of person you're dealing with. Whether you're dealing with an individual that just doesn't know, or whether this is somebody who is just being dishonest, or whether they just can't comprehend it. Typically, somebody who can't comprehend it, they're going to find themselves getting all emotional when they can't put holes in your argument, and you clearly have found numerous holes in theirs. Somebody who understands what you're saying is spot on, but refuses to acknowledge it, is going to keep trying to mislead the conversation. These are the patterns that y'all need to look for. Somebody who just doesn't know and needs education, when you break it down to them and say, hey man, listen, this is where you're flawed. Your logic is flawed here, here, and here. They will then now respond and say, wow, I didn't know. Thanks for enlightening me. See, that's the type of woman that you can actually work with. You can attempt to reason with her. Why? She can comprehend what you're saying, or that what she does not understand, you can explain it to her and make sense out of it for her. But what I've noticed in past relationships, what I've dealt with, are females that want to be intellectually dishonest. It's not about getting to the root cause of the problem and actually solving the problem. This is all about manipulation. And as long as you play that game with them, guess what? They don't back down, they only double down. And now with this relationship that I was talking about, the final straw, or what, in that whole scenario, when she was pulling this bullshit with this guy friend of hers, it was to a point I said, listen, we're done. Now, if you're going to deal with me, it'll be on a sexual level, and that's it. We can hang out, and we can go back to my place, or we go back to your place, do what we got to do, and that's it. It's a wrap. But there ain't going to be no fucking relationship. And each and every time this would happen, she would feel some kind of way. To the point where she would keep asking every time after having sex, even after she initiated it. And I'm like, nah, I don't want to go through this shit. Why? Because I don't want to have this backlash after we're done doing what we do. I don't want to hear it. And it got to a point where she asked, well, how come we can't be in a relationship? I said, let me tell you something right now. Let me make something perfectly clear to you. That bullshit I went through with you a couple of months ago, because this went on for a couple of months, and I'm talking about just friends with benefits. That's how long I dragged this shit out for. And even to the point where she tried to make it happen shortly after I cut it off, she pleaded with me. Pleaded, I want to help you, I want to work with you. No, I don't need your help. I don't need you to work with me. You played too many fucking games. So therefore, I let it be known where it was going to go and where it wasn't going to go. And what I realized when I finally decided to say, okay, we'll work this out, I made it perfectly clear. Let me tell you something right now. I don't settle second to no fucking man. It is just that goddamn simple. This is not up for negotiation. This is not up for discussion. This is not up for debate. If you are going to be classify yourself or classify me as your man, this is how it goes down. No exceptions to that rule. Now, initially, when I first got into that relationship with her, I said, man, listen, this is inappropriate. What she told me is now, well, I used to always do things for everybody else but myself. And in past relationships, I would do things for the man and not me. I'm putting myself first this time, so I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay. When I was willing to play along with that bullshit and compromise, what did I get? I got shitted on for it. But when I shut down that stupid shit and said, nah, I'm not compromising with you. This is how it goes down or nothing at all. You pick your choice. What happened? Shortly after that, she stopped bringing up that guy friend. All of a sudden, I don't even hear about this motherfucker anymore. He's a dead issue. Because once you realize where you stand and the position that you have to take as a goddamn man, you're not worried about whether you're going to offend somebody. You're not worried about whether is she going to still keep dating me. Listen, man, if you want to date me, this is the circumstances in which you are going to date me under. That's simple. And if you got somebody else in your life that you're in love with, then listen, you don't need to be with me. It is just that goddamn simple. And the minute I put my foot down, it put a stop to all that bullshit. Like I stated before, when you sit down and attempt to reason with somebody who's being delusional, you're going to get nowhere. When you attempt to think logically and work off of logic and think that you are going to get them to see it from that perspective, it is a blatant waste of time. And it goes back into what I just said a little while ago. You're heating a home with open windows. Because the same way you are attempting to use logic and reason with her, either number one, she can't process this, or number two, she refuses and she's being intellectually dishonest with you. And I've had this happen with other ex-girlfriends as well. They will be intellectually dishonest, knowing that they're blatantly in the wrong, and will keep doubling down on their bullshit. But what they realize is when that man puts his foot down and says, all right, I'm done. That's when all of a sudden they're ready to change, and what they told you they were never going to do for nobody ever again. It's about me now. Me. Guess what? The minute you say, all right, I'm done. I ain't got time for that shit. It don't go down like that over here. Here's the door. You can kick rocks. And when they leave that fucking door and they hear the sound of that lock clicking, all of a sudden, what they would never do, they want them to do. Okay, I'll cut this out. Oh, that's what I thought. You see, once you understand that trying to reason with them and trying to compromise with them is falling on deaf ears, then you have to understand the only thing, if you can't make sense out of them and get them to submit to your leadership, then you need to know, no matter how much logic and reason that you use, if she's not trying to process that, then the only thing that she will process is punishment. This is how that works. This is why I tell you, black men, stop wasting your time going back and forth with these females. I'm not going to sit up arguing with you. This is where I stand. And if these females are on bullshit, then you have to find a means to be able to let them know, listen, we will exclude you from actual resources. But see, you black men have not established this. You haven't established this. This is not a priority to you. This is why they can continue to keep doubling down on their bullshit. They don't have to come to you. It's just like all the Negroes who have come to me over the goddamn years and said, yeah, man, the black woman is the reason why I couldn't get into corporate America. She'd be the one standing at the door as a gatekeeper, ensuring that I wouldn't get in. Okay, I get that. But that's where the Negro stops. And the thing is, there's multiple layers to this onion. I'm going to give you two, and then there's a source, there's a core. And the Negro don't want to, there are two of those damn, one of those, the source and one of those layers, he don't want to check. Only a handful of them will actually do this. The first layer that you're going to deal with is that black female. She's going to be the first line of defense that's going to come up. The second that you're going to see might potentially be the black pastor that we know he's not going to check. The third will be your black civil rights leaders, your failed NAACP, and this is going to comprise of a host of weak-ass, stepping and fetching, buck dancing, cooning and buffooning Negroes that comprises of both black men and women. These are your failures. And then when you get to the final source of that problem, the core of that onion is going to be your white liberal policies. And we most certainly know that the Negro will not confront this. This is another reason why if you ask an Obsidian, do you view white male liberal policies as the core problem in your community? Well, he's going to say, I don't view them as a problem. I ain't got no problem with white men. They my brother from another mother. Now, I'm almost certain that had Kevin Samuels had a white female on that podcast, he would not have spoken to her like that. Why? Because the white female comes from a community that will punish his black ass if he decided to do some shit like that. However, he knows he can get away with doing this with the black female. He knows he can get away with doing this because this is the easiest thing in the world that you can do. This is the easiest thing that Negroes can do is attack one another. That takes no courage to do this. But now what takes courage and what they won't do is number one, to confront that black pastor, and number two, to confront those white liberal policies, which is going to bring him directly in the face of the white liberal. And if you listen to Kevin Samuels, I think he made a follow-up video talking about you got to be careful on what you say. You can't speak from a masculine perspective. No, Kevin Samuels won't do that because he knows there will be ramifications with his money and his income. Now, me on the other hand, YouTube don't pay me shit, so I'm not looking to YouTube for a goddamn income. So I'm gonna get on this motherfucker and say whatever the hell I want to. I'm not holding my damn tongue for any fucking body. Anybody that respects me is gonna know I respect that man for who he is. He is an unapologetic hardback. And it don't matter whether you're white, whether you're black, whether you're Asian, whether you're Hispanic, it don't matter. If you fucks with me, that's the level you gonna fuck with me on. Is I'm not holding my tongue for no goddamn body. I'm not running around kissing nobody's ass. I'm not trying to make people feel comfortable and safe. Listen, man, when you deal with me, this is what you're dealing with. But Kevin Samuels, on the other hand, says that we can't talk as men from a perspective of masculinity. Why is that? Why? Why is that? And that's a good point that you bring up, Mr. Samuels. Why can't we speak from the perspective of masculinity? Whose policies have enabled this? This is not policy that black men have enabled. Because if you take it back to our culture, in the African culture, you have both a mother and a father. You have a patriarch, which means that the man is the head of the household. You don't get no rebut from your goddamn women. The only place we would get this rebut from is right here in Western civilization. Why is that? Because until you are ready to check that source, which is what? White liberal policies. That's what enables women to go about creating this cancel culture. And we've seen how many hashtags and memes black women have created, which have completely hijacked by white women. We've seen this. They create it, they hijack it, and run with it. We've seen this. So we know the black woman is really not in control of any goddamn thing. Just like when it comes down to the Negro saying, well, it's the black woman who stopped me from getting to corporate America. I get it. She's at the forefront. She's the gatekeeper. But now the black man, he will only have vitriol toward that black female, which I understand that, and I'm not knocking that. What I am knocking, however, is that the vitriol and the anger only stops with her. He doesn't want to talk to her dad. He doesn't want to talk to her father. And that's what I'm looking for. Get your dad. You see, what the Negro would do is he would sit down with her white boss and say, hey, man, listen, I've been trying to get into this company for a while, man. I've been sending in resumes. What? I never got it. Well, I gave it to Lucretia. Well, I don't know what's going on. Lucretia's really been messing up these past couple of days. There's been a lot of people who've been saying the same thing. I don't know what's going on with Lucretia. Yeah, man, Lucretia's out of control. When I see her, she has an attitude. She sucks her teeth at me. She's just being abrasive. This Lucretia's out of control. I'll have to speak to her immediately about this. Here's what I tell you what. Take my email, take my contact information, and you can email me a copy of your resume. And we'll see about getting you set up. Oh, man, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate that, man. See, I knew it was her, man. See, you cool dude on the other hand, but her, I don't know what's going on with Lucretia. This is how you Negroes think. You will completely give his ass a pass, as if he did not know what Lucretia was doing. Because Lucretia was just acting on her own. You see, this is what he's going to tell your black ass. But listen, man, Lucretia's not doing anything that his white ass won't allow her to do. And what he's going to do when he sees your black ass, he's going to play stupid as if he didn't know this. And when Lucretia starts pulling her bullshit and you try to start taking some kind of civil or legal action to go ahead and correct this shit that's going on, what's going to happen is Lucretia, he's going to use her as a scapegoat. Meaning, hey, you can't lump us up under racism. We hire black people here. As a matter of fact, not only is she black, but she's a woman. So he's killed two birds with one stone. Now, when they try to say, well, this company has discriminated for me getting inside of the company, well, listen, that was on Lucretia. Now she's become the fall guy. So since we didn't know that Lucretia was up to this, we recently found this out, we terminated her employment. So she was only acting out what the white liberal told her to enact. But when the shit finally hit the damn fan, guess what? She's being penalized for it. Now, is this another example? I'm trying to find, as a matter of fact, if I can find the chick's name, I'm going to briefly look. Hold on. There's a black female who recently went ahead and stated some things in a live stream that she did on Twitter. Now, I'm going to try to I just need to find her name. I need to find her name really fast. And now she is being scolded, taken to the woodshed. And this female's name, she's State Representative Cynthia Johnson. Now, of course, she was acting on the behalf of the Democratic Party. And see, this is what happens with many of you Negroes. Y'all get shit twisted and y'all get involved and think, I'm one of the Negroes. I can't be touched. I'm an untouchable. But where Cynthia Johnson went wrong is she decided to go ahead and confront the Trumpers. For all you Trump supporters out there, who is she talking about? Predominantly white men. Now, even though the Democratic Party backs you, however, they do not back you when it comes down to chastising white men. And the minute she found herself laying threats to white men, they checked her on that. And we're not going to deal with that in this video. We're going to deal with that a little bit later on in another video. But this is what is taking place. The minute she thought she was going to find herself confronting white men, oh, no. We remind you of where you fucking stand. You's a Negro just like the rest of them. Now, you might have authority over them. You have no authority, however, over us. You don't talk to white men like that. And listen, on the Roly Poly show, she stated that she's not going to apologize. If I'm a betting man, I bet you that she will apologize. The same way Nick Cannon tried to mention he's going to stand firm on the square, and yet how the Jewish community pimped him. Put his ass out on a strip like a fucking $2 prostitute. Make your hips and butt cheeks sashay. Put on them fishnet stockings and go out there and fucking make us some goddamn money. They pimped him. He tried to stand firm in the square and they bitch smacked him down, letting him know, listen, you don't stand firm with us. You do what the fuck we tell you to do. Same thing with Representative Cynthia Johnson. She thought she was going to get aggressive. She thought she was in with the it crowd. I'm an untouchable. And now I can say whatever the hell I want to say to black men. But where she fucked up was she thought she was going to talk like that to white men. And they checked her, immediately stripped her of her state representative privileges. Stripped her. And it's only going to get worse. But we're going to deal with that later on in another video. Because this video is getting kind of long. But that right there should be very telling of you black men. Oh my God, here we go, these Negroes. This should be very telling on what you're dealing with. You are dealing with a system, just like I mentioned how the Negro will sit up here and complain that Lucretia is keeping him from getting into corporate America, but he will not talk. Listen, if I see something like this going on, here's what I'm saying. Get me your dad. I want to talk to him. Get your dad. I'm not going to waste my time having a conversation with you. This is irrelevant. This is a waste of my fucking time because I know why you're doing what you're doing. It's not the same thing like if you're dealing with a child that's at a playground acting a goddamn fool and you see their parents over there. Well, who are you going to talk to? If that child will not listen, eventually it's going to get to a point. Get your parents. I need to talk to your parents. Get me your dad. That's how I'm going to deal with this. I'm not talking to you. You're a child. Get me your parents. And this is exactly how I would deal with the black female. I'm not talking to you. Get me your dad. Who am I referring to when I say get your dad? I want to talk with him. I'm talking about that white liberal. Because the only reason why you're doing what you're doing right now is because the white liberal allows you. And this is how I should have handled Crystalline Carrison back when I had her on that live stream in 2015. I'm not here to talk to you. Get your dad. I want to talk with him. That's simple. Me and you have nothing to talk about. Get your dad. That's who I need to talk to right now. But since we know that many of you Negroes don't have a set of balls in between your legs, you don't say nothing about this. You'll completely stop with the black female because the problem ends with her. And no, you did not end the fucking problem. And this is another reason why I keep telling you Negroes, you are attempting to heat a home with open windows. Yeah, it gets nice and warm when you fucking just blow down on her. Yeah, it gets toasty. But after the heat shuts off, guess what? It gets cold all over again. Not only does it get cold, but it freezes. Pipes are bursting. This is how bad it gets. Because they don't back down, they double down. And the reason why the black female can continuously keep doing what she is doing, overall, to make a long story short, she can keep acting the fool with you, and you can browbeat her on the panel and bring her self-esteem down to a bare minimum, down to dirt. But when she, a little bit shortly afterward, what you're going to notice about that black female is she's going to be right back on her bullshit. And this is what I've noticed about all three of my exes. Even the one I was recently telling y'all about. And that's another reason, I cut her ass off shortly after we got back together. But I came to an understanding. I'm wasting my time. Because no matter how much I try to use reason with you, if I walk away from you, it's not going to be any different. What you're going to do is you're going to wait until things cool down for a bit. And then you're going to come back once you think I've lowered my guard down. No, I'm done. We're finished. Pack it up. You're done. This is where I'm at. Because when these females do what they do, no matter how much you might say things, and what Kevin Samuels said about her was pretty spot on. But it's going to hold no effect. Why? Because you are heating a home with open windows. She does not have to come to you for her validation. She does not have to come to you when it comes down to her income. She does not have to come to you when it comes down to life sustainability. She does not have to come to you when it comes down to resources. Why? Because you black men have not established this. However, the reason why I can say that a Cynthia Johnson, as much as she might say, I'm not going to apologize, I'm going to stand firm on my square, the same way Nick Cannon did, but yet he backed down like a fucking bitch. And I guarantee you, she's going to end up doing the same thing. Making a live stream talking, we need to heal and I apologize, I did not mean in any way to hurt nobody. This is what you're going to find her saying. Because what the white society will do with them is, listen, when you get out of line, we're not going to sit up in your damn face on live streams browbeating your ass. We're not going to do that. What we're going to do is we're going to punish you. We're going to take your black ass to the woodshed. Take them fucking pants off. You seen the way she was in the, what was it? When former Mayor Giuliani was having that hearing, or was it not in the Supreme Court, but one of these courthouses, in these rooms, she was sitting there with a nasty attitude. Oh yeah, I knew just by looking at that, it's about to be over for you. You're done. Because since you can't control that attitude, you seen the judge banging the gavel, state representative. You seen that shit. Y'all seen it. He kept banging the gavel. I knew you're treading on thin ice. Keep that shit up. See, the problem is you think you're amongst the den of black people, or amongst black men. You could get away with doing that shit as a black female to black men. There's no consequence behind it. However, you start pulling that shit in their spaces, guess what? There's gonna be a consequence. And she found out the hard way. And listen, I guarantee you, it's not gonna end there. It's only gonna continue to get worse. They're gonna teach her a thorough lesson. Listen, when we let you in our society, you don't pull this bullshit with us. Do you know who we are? We're white men. Hell, even with white women, you don't pull this shit with them either. Because when we ain't guarding the gates, they're right there guarding it for us. We give you privileges over the Negroes. You can take that shit to the Negroes. You don't bring that shit over here in white society. And she's finding out the hard way. So once again, and I guarantee you she's going to come back apologizing. Why? Because the white liberal has the ability to punish her. What did she end up saying in that interview with Roly Poly? You know, the Democrats, they only back their white constituents. She's finding out the hard way that what? She is a black woman. She does not have the same privilege. She cannot go into white spaces and pull that bullshit and think that it's going to fly. And she is now getting her dosage of reality. So therefore, once you understand this and once you understand how she is going to ultimately end up responding back to them to get in their good graces, she's having a black ass take her to the woodshed. They got her bent over with her damn skirt lifted up and they're thrashing her black ass. And when that's all said and done, she's going to come back humble, docile, submissive, obedient. This is what she's going to give to the white liberal. She's not going to give it to your black ass, however, because you have not established a means of showing that, number one, you have resources that you can provide her with, and number two, if you want to get out of pocket, I can exclude you from these resources. I can strip you down to your bare minimum. You Negroes have not established this, so the only thing that you're blowing out is hot air. Once again, you're heating up a home with open windows because you're not holding the heat. If I'm going to attempt to heat up a fucking building, listen, I want that heat to last. Close those fucking windows. If I see them windows opening, I'm shutting the heat off. It's that simple. Why? Because I don't believe in wasting my fuel or energy. This is why you've never found me on panels going back and forth with these females. It is a complete, utter waste of my goddamn time. And I've kept on trying to reiterate this to you black men time and time again. And listen, I know YouTube has got me on a shadow ban. So those of you Negroes who like my content, shit, fucking share the content. Don't share it on my Facebook timeline. I don't need y'all doing that. I could do that myself if that's what I wanted to do. But you can share it on your shit. And for those of you who truly support my shit, man, listen, leave a goddamn donation. It's just that fucking simple. I'm the only one giving y'all real fucking advice. I'm not sitting here teaching you how to date a bunch of goddamn women because you're never gonna have say-so over them. Why? Because they know they have a society that usurps you. Just like when I listen to the Negroes and they come up with videos understanding the dating game and how you can master the dating game. Listen, it will always be exactly that in Western civilization, a dating game. We didn't always operate like this. Because at one point in time, before we even came over here, it was a matter of having arranged marriages. A girl was raised to be married off to a husband. This is who you marry, and the discussion, that is it. Now listen, we don't have to necessarily agree with everything that takes place with that. But when you have power, you don't have to sit around negotiating with foolishness, playing childlike games with women. I'm not wasting my time doing that. This is why I don't give dating advice anymore. It is a waste of fucking time. You master or pick up on the game that she's running on you. She keeps on switching the shit up. The goalpost keeps on changing. Therefore, I have concluded that I am wasting my fucking time. I'm not chasing you around on this. Therefore, I know what needs to be done. And black men, since y'all are seemingly, you have no intentions and no desirability to establish taking control over your goddamn community, controlling the economics in your damn community, establishing resources and grabbing power in your community. Y'all have no interest in this. You can't get black men to congregate to talk on these talking points for nothing. However, you can get a conclave of Negroes to sit around and talk about how they're going to get some females and sleep with multiple women a day and talk about how they high value men, despite the fact that they have absolutely no control or say-so over what goes on in their own society. Within this year of 2020, and I got to drag this video out, I got to. Because I got too much to say, and I'm not chopping it up into multiple videos, so I'm giving it to y'all in one fucking package. Because with everything going on in 2020 right now, we know that this is not a normal year. If you can look at this year and classify what you see taking place with these damn these public elected officials, these government elected officials, and classify this as normal, listen, I don't know what else I can tell you. But everyone that you see who is making decisions on whether you have to lock down, whether you need to get vaccinated, whether you can get up and go to work or go run your fucking business. And guess what? They are predominantly doing this to white men. But everyone that you see doing this looks nothing like you. Nothing like you. They will put a black woman in that position to lord over you before you. Just like when it comes down to corporate America. And you try to say, oh, y'all are racist. No, you can't say that we're racist. Why? Because we have minorities. We have black women. They would rather put these women in these positions of authority over your black ass. Despite the fact that in certain cases, they have no experience in the field, none whatsoever. They would rather usurp you. There's a reason how your community became into a matriarch. Western civilization is not a matriarch. Only black civilization is a matriarch. And it is due to white liberal policies that have created the conditions in which you live in right now. So when you sit back and you ask a black man like Obsidian, do you see this as the issue? And his response is to say, I don't view white men as the problem. You know where that's going to go. You know you are dealing with a cowardly Negro who does not want to check the source of the goddamn problem. The only thing they want to do is sit on the panel and attempt to browbeat a bunch of females, and that is going absolutely nowhere. Because after you're done browbeating her, she can go right back in society and act a blatant fucking fool. And they know good and damn well you black men aren't going to check them. You don't have the power to check them. And this is the way they want it. This is why a liberal society encourages these females. What was it, Lizzo, that fat, nasty female who went to a Lakers game dressed up the way she was? And what did they do? They didn't condemn that shit. They promoted it. They said this is sexual liberation. Who promotes this? White liberal society, which are encouraging things that no other group of men would encourage. You Negroes need to understand something. You are the only group of men on the face of the planet, or in this nation, better yet, let me say, to receive the level of disrespect that you receive from your women. No other race of men receive this level of disrespect from their women the way you do. Other groups of men can come from another goddamn country with rags on their fucking heads and still be the patriarch, and their women respect them as the head of the goddamn household. Don't argue with them. You don't find them doing this. You don't find the Arabics doing this. And the funny thing is, I see you Negroes will show up at a mosque along with the Arabics multiple times a day, go into that mosque, get down on your knees and pray. And I'm looking at you Negroes and I look at them. And even though y'all know where I'm at when it comes down to praying to a higher power, I don't believe in that. But if that's what you want to do, that's one thing. But when I look at their circumstances, these are people who have resources. These are people who have established an economy for themselves, who own businesses. I look at you Negroes, y'all don't have the same. So y'all are willing to follow them when it comes down to religious beliefs and views, but you won't follow them when it comes down to controlling the economy in your fucking community. And not only do these people have businesses, but they have it in your community, Negro, and you don't see this as a goddamn problem. This shit sits right across the street from where the fuck you live, Negro, but you don't see this as the goddamn problem. You don't think that you need to do the same. Mind you now, you can never go into one of their communities and do that shit over there. But they do it in your community every fucking time. And when you sit back and you ask people like Kevin Samuels, do you think you need to establish some kind of a correlation or have something that you can pass down to the younger generation of black men? Why should we got to do that for them? Why we got to do something for them? This is what y'all say. That's not your obligation. I got to be saying the community. I ain't got to say the community. That's what y'all say. Because it's a joke to you to mock your own fucking community. Negro, this is the reason why you don't have a fucking community. In many cases, y'all think y'all are going to be around these other damn groups of people trying to establish alliances, and what you fail to realize is that you are a guest in somebody else's house. You don't run nothing in their fucking house. The goal should be to build your own fucking house, but the Negro don't want to do that. He don't want to talk about how do we gain control and have stores in our own community so we don't have to have a foreigner selling us canned goods and foods and supplies. The Negro don't want to do that. But what you can get the Negro to congregate for is to talk about how they can sleep with multiple women a day. It's to congregate on sitting back and watching a goofy Negro with a suit and tie on and a fag bag browbeating a bunch of low vibration, low self-esteem females, and y'all think y'all got a victory behind that. No, once again, Negro, you are heating a home with open windows. Your heat and your energy is not being retained. It gets lost the minute you shut the heat off. So it was a complete fucking waste of energy. This is what y'all find yourselves doing. And I cannot figure out for the life of me, why is it within this day and age that you would have black men who literally think like this? And when you try to say, man, listen, let's stop focusing on these goddamn females, because the only way you are going to get them in order is once you have checked those white liberal policies. As I've told you before, the black female gets out of pocket, I'm not looking to talk to you. Step aside. Get me your dad. That's who I'm looking to talk to. I want to talk with your dad. Get him now. But why can't you talk? Listen, you are a female. I have no business talking to you. I am a man. You can take that any fucking way you feel fit. But I'm looking to talk to your dad. I want to talk to your enabler who allows you to do this. Because if he's letting you get away with this, then I need to have a one-on-one conversation with his ass right now. Get your dad. I want to talk to him right now. That's where I'm at. And you figure black men will be on that same level. Many of you aren't. You're not. And since we know you don't have a set of balls to go ahead and check these black churches that sit in your goddamn community, these black pastors who exploit your women, we most certainly know that you are not about to check that white liberal. So therefore, until you are willing to get that shit under control, sitting here attempting to browbeat a bunch of low self-esteem, low vibration females is a complete and utter waste of your time. But unfortunately, this is what far too many of y'all deem as importance, and it is no wonder why black men are at the bottom of the goddamn barrel the way we are. Once again, I know what needs to be done to rectify this problem. I dare not say it on YouTube, but I think I've already said too much as it is. So with that being stated, well, let me just say this much before I go. Let me just say this much. For those of y'all who don't understand anything, I'm going to once again keep on reiterating with Bill Cosby. For those of you who want to talk about high value, that's how quickly you can be stripped of power. Bill Cosby was he was damn near a billionaire. Look at him now. They reversed laws, completely broke laws to put him in jail. Laws that they would not have done had he been a white man. These are facts. We know this. This ain't no goddamn secret. Robert F. Smith, another one that y'all love so goddamn much. Last time I checked, he was under investigation for tax evasion. Chances are he'll go to jail. Because we know when these black men make too much money, we gotta find a way to fucking strip them down. We gotta break you down and humble you. Bring you back down to a certain level. Now, I don't think the man is evading paying his taxes. I think this is just what they're trying to get him for. So once again, when y'all don't view this liberal society, this white liberal society that enables these policies that create not only the conditions that you live in, but your women in the way they are, that's a problem. Bill Cosby is still sitting in prison to this day right now. Just think about that. They would rather release violent criminals out of prison due to coronavirus before they would let a senior citizen who is legally blind out of prison. He's still sitting in prison. Now, I think it was 3 to 10 years he's going to be serving. Chances are, I believe he will be serving all 3. They might even try to get him for more than just 3. Good behavior, you could get out, but nah, I think you need to do 7 years. Listen, don't be surprised if this is what happens. Why does this happen? Because you black men have no power in society. This is why they can railroad you. So for those of you who want to run around talking about you high value, I'm high value, look at me, I make a 6-figure income, I'm a high value man. Well, that's how quickly you can be relegated to absolutely nothing. That's how quickly your high value ass with a goofy ass suit and tie on could be sitting inside of a jail cell. Can have laws that were literally just fabricated out of thin air to get you locked up. You have no power in society, and y'all sitting around engaging in females. Listen, you have to understand, at one point, black women were not like this. This took place with the feminist movement, with the welfare state. This is what led to black women being enabled to doing what they have done. You have an enabler which has allowed her to do what she has done. And until you Negroes begin to check that, I don't know what else to tell you. And I don't know what it's going to take to get through to you Negroes before y'all finally realize. Because here's what I believe. A lot of black men are under the impression that what happened to us hundreds of years ago can never happen again. Now see, what enables or what ensures that will never happen again is when a group of people who experience such trauma put stipulations and defense mechanisms in place to ensure that this will never happen again. I don't know what it's going to take for black men to finally start thinking along those lines and say, we need to make sure that these things never happen to us again, ever, under any means necessary. For whatever reason, y'all just don't seem to get it. And when you're dealing with a group of men who collectively cannot seem to grasp reality, look at everything around them and look at it from a chronological perspective and understand what needs to be done in order to solve their problems, then there's not really much else I can say. And now with that being said, that's all I got to say in this video. And I'll catch you on a later date.